I used to be obese. Once you've conquered obesity.
Hey guys, you guessed it, I am making my own watercolors. And it's been such an interesting process so far. I've had these beautiful pastels for a couple years now, and I've only really used them a handful of times. And I just found that pastel painting, pastel drawing just isn't really for me. So instead of trying to just salvage them for a long time in case I might use them in the future, I decided I would actually do something useful with them and turn them into watercolors. After doing a quick Google search for other people who have done this, I didn't really find a lot of information, so I decided I would just give it a try. So I'm using a pretty classic recipe that I found online, and I'll link a couple things in the description below for anyone else who wants to try this. But what I found really quickly is that so much of this is about customizing what you add to your own preferences. In my case, my goal was to create watercolors that are a little more granulated, so adding more granulation medium, and are very active, meaning I will add more dispersant so that they flow really wildly across the paper when I add them into the water. And the reason I wanted to do that was because I really love using big washes and bleeds in my work lately. So I want very active watercolors with a lot of texture. It might not be what everyone else prefers in their painting, so that's the beauty of making your own watercolors, is you can just customize it to your own specifications. In terms of color, I knew I wanted to start off with just doing something pretty simple, just making 2 colors for my first batch so that I could play with different ratios of the additives and kind of figure out if it's working or not. And I actually did this live on my Twitch channel, which was really fun. And I had a lot of people who were also interested in this process, and the chat actually helped me name these colors. So the first one we made is called Sea Glass Teal. And even though I had Googled how to do this and watched some videos on YouTube about this already, I learned so much by trial and error my first time. And on top of that, I know that each pigment is going to be different and require different things. So, for instance, the teal paint that I made didn't take as much mulling to get it nice and smooth as the second one, which you'll see soon. The purple one took way longer to mull into like a nice creamy consistency. So that was interesting. And of course, I was doing this for the first time. I didn't know how they would turn out, so I didn't know if my binder that I made would work or not. Spoiler alert, it did. It took about 3 days total for the paint to fully dry in the pans, and then I was able to reactivate it really, really nicely. So at the end of the video, you'll see me doing some tests on various types of paper, and it went really well. I added some iridescent medium as well, so I had a couple different versions of each color, and I called it regular, shiny, and crazy. So the regular had no extra additives, the shiny had some iridescent medium, and the crazy version had the iridescent medium as well as more dispersant, so it was a little more wild. I think a big part of this process is figuring out a good workflow, and especially take good notes. That's something that I was lacking. I was a little carried away with the process, a little bit overwhelmed, and I was also live streaming this, so I was distracted by chat. Yes, I'm blaming you guys. No. But I took some notes that I think will help a little bit in the future, but since it was my first time and so much of it was just about figuring out if it would even work or not, I wasn't quite as diligent as I should have been. So one thing I noticed though is that with just this small amount of pigment, I was able to fill about 3 half pans. So it's not that much paint. And I didn't have as good of a setup as I would need if I was going to do bigger batches. I mean, I could do small batches like this, but it would take forever to fill like a tube of this paint. So that was one thing that kind of surprised me. And I didn't really even think about that before I started. I had the empty tubes ready to go, and there was no way that I would be able to fill a whole tube with the amount that I made. So it's good to know for future, like, would I want to do this on a regular basis and only make small amounts? Or would I want to make bigger batches and store them in tubes? Which, if I did that, it would be a very long day of mixing and mulling. So I don't know. You definitely have to consider your time when you're thinking about doing this. So is it worth it? To me, I think it is because of the fact that you can customize it. So it wasn't just the fact that I am making my own colors and potentially saving money on buying tubes. It's also that I'm making the exact color that I want with the exact features, as in like it's very active, it's very granulating, etc. But yeah, it can be a little overwhelming at first, and just getting that workflow, as I said, I think will help a lot. So doing it maybe 5-10 more times, I know at that point I would have like a really efficient process already down, and in the future it won't be as bad. But in this case, it took me about 4 hours on stream to make all of these little half pans. So, you know, that's only 6 pans for that much time. That's not very efficient. But I'm really glad I did it, and I learned so much, and it also teaches you a lot about just the physical properties of paint itself, which will help me going forward. Like when I buy tubes of paint from other manufacturers, I now am looking at different things that I maybe wasn't considering before. And when it came time to test them, I was really eager to try it out. So I did a quick swatch of each color when they were fresh, as you're seeing here. And then I did a quick swatch sheet on different types of paper after they dried for a few days. So the rest of the video is just me doing the swatches. If you want to watch that, feel free. But otherwise, I'm open for questions. I'll definitely be doing this again. And in the next video, I plan on recording like a fully detailed explanation of everything I'm doing. This was just my first test, and I knew I was going to learn a lot. There's so much to consider when doing it. So now that I've done it once, I feel much more confident, and I feel like I'm actually going to be able to explain things as I'm going and know a little bit more what I can expect. So yeah, if you're interested in trying this out, I can definitely recommend it. But just know that it, just like everything else, it takes time, it takes patience, it takes practice. So even though my colors weren't absolutely perfect from this first test, they are already something that I'm adding into my paintings, and I've just been really enjoying them. I think I'll throw on some music for the rest of the videos, and you might be able to hear some of my audio from the stream. But otherwise, let me know what you guys think, and if there are any other if anyone has any tips or suggestions for my next try, let me know. I'm all ears. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. You see all the texture, but then if you let it, if you do a big wash of it, look how smooth it looks. I mean, there's still texture in there, but it has a totally different look to it from that compared to that. So that is really cool. Yeah, we should. It gives us an accurate representation. It has helped me a lot. The addiction is real. Top hours. Pro lurkers. Definitely interested. This is the rough paper, so it's going to have a lot of texture. But I liked your idea of doing a modified version of my modified prompt list to suit your schedule and to suit your desires. I think that's smart. Was debilitating. Like I don't know why I have such problems with that. Like just do it. Just get it over with. It feels better. Just get that kind of stuff over with. Let's get vertical, vertical. I wanna get vertical. Let's get into vertical.